Good evening, everyone. Jerry here. This is Canada Month on Off the Beaten Track. All three of our presenters are in Canada, so if the signal goes a bit fuzzy, we'll blame the border. Our first up is MiniPrints. Bernard Hellen is a member of the NMRA Niagara Frontier Region and models the G&W Quebec-Gatineau Shortline Railroad in HO scale from Montreal to Quebec City. He's always loved the scenery aspect of the model railroading hobby. 4 years ago, Bernard started a small business selling 3D printed figures, objects, and animals at MiniPrints.com. He lives in Toronto, Canada with his wife, 2 teenage boys, a field spaniel, and a horse named Pumpkin. Bernard, if you'd like to go ahead and share your screen.
Thank you. All right. Can you see?
We've got it.
It's the little things that matter most.
We see you well, Bernard.
Excellent, excellent. It's been 2 years since I presented to the group, so thank you so much for the opportunity to share what's new at MiniPrints. I looked back at the presentation from 2 years ago, and it was really fun to watch. And a lot has changed. So I'm going to share with you tonight briefly some of the things that have been new since I last spoke to you, and show you some of the work that we've done. There we go. So this is me. If you haven't met me before, this is what I looked like about 8 years ago in Quebec City. And if I look happy, it's because I am, because I'm next to my absolute favorite locomotive, a little SW 1500 switcher of the railroad that I model, Quebec-Gatineau. And I'm sure most of you have heard the story of MiniPrints before, but if you haven't, I am a reluctant accidental model railroad manufacturer because I started off needing a beaver for my own layout and couldn't find one. So my 3D printed beaver of 4 or 5 years ago has turned into a full-time job with a commercial space, an employee, and probably about 1,000 figures. When I presented to the group 2 years ago, I shared with you some of the mini prints that I had created. Since then, I've expanded to mini lights, which is me basically putting a flickering LED into anything I can possibly think of, bonfires, lamps, you name it. Mini sounds, which is a new line that I've worked on with Iowa Scaled Engineering and ITLA, the woodcut scale model kit company, where you can imagine the sound module that is included with this HO scale potty. Mini Box, which is a monthly HO scale subscription service. And one of the things that I wanted to talk a little bit about tonight, which is Mini-Me. And Mini-Me is my 3D scanning. So it's funny, when I talked to the group 2 years ago, I remember sharing one scan that I had done of myself, I think, crashing my drone, and talking about how I thought that the future of the company was in, scanning 3D people. And since then, I've gone to Springfield twice, Timonium once, the NMRA in Texas, St. Louis, and a number of other shows with my 3D scanning rig. And it is absolutely a ton of fun capturing people in miniature. So I'm now known as Dr. Mini, and I go around with a shrink ray gun and have created a collection of about 300 little miniature figures. These are some of the latest ones that I captured at Springfield. A little bit earlier, people were talking about Lucy from the NMRA. She's one of the people that I scanned. If you're interested in looking at the full range of all of the Mini-Me figures, you can go to miniprints.com/minimes, and you will see a lot of familiar faces, including, and it was my great honor when I was in Springfield to scan George Celios. And you can now add a little mini George to your layout. If you have not ever been to the Franklin and South Manchester Railroad, or if you don't know who George Sellios is, and I can't imagine there's anyone who hasn't been familiar with this layout, it is absolutely, I don't want to use the term bucket list because it's overused, but it was a dream come true. It was so fabulous. I'm actually planning on going back down again in April to hang out with some modelers that are going to see it for a second time. I don't feel like one visit does this layout justice. So I'm having a ton of fun with this 3D scanning. If you are looking for very hyper-realistic figures, all mini-me's are available in N, HO, S, and O scale. And I'm absolutely thrilled with the type of quality that the scanner is producing. And it's also a ton of fun. Also new in the last 2 years is the MiniPrints modelers group on Facebook. I've always had the MiniPrints page, but if you're interested in seeing some of the work that people have done with our various MiniPrint models, you can certainly join the MiniPrints modelers group. This is a group for people to share their MiniPrints models. And I go live on the first Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. Eastern on both Facebook and YouTube. And I share what's new. So you can go to the YouTube MiniPrints channel, which is just youtube.com/miniprints, if you're interested in seeing what we're up to. But I thought it might be fun tonight, because a picture is worth 1,000 words, just to take a look back at the last 2 years of some of the MiniPrints that have been introduced since I was last on the show. So you can see here, I asked my software to graph the number of individual MiniPrint products I had the last time I was on versus today, and I think the range has about doubled. So what you're about to see today are just basically pretty pictures of the MiniPrints that I have introduced since I was last on speaking to you, with a little bit of commentary. MiniPrints is known really for a couple things. It's known for things that don't exist in the market, at least didn't exist when I created them. It's known for weird, wacky, wonderful, and it's known for mini. So the smaller, the better, the wilder, the better, the weirder, the better, and the most unique, the better. So these are all things that you can find on miniprints.com that I've created in the last 2 years. Had fun with, these are not scanned figures, but modeled figures. It's quite interesting. Modeling a figure in software is nowhere near as good as scanning it in real life. You just don't get the folds of the clothing. You just don't get the detail. Birds and animals are what we're known for. That's how MiniPrints started 4 years ago. We're actually coming up to our 5th year, starting April 1st. Had quite a bit of success with farm equipment. And once again, everything you see here is available in HO, S, and O scale, and most of it, pretty much everything, in N, unless it's technically impossible to reproduce. I originally started off saying that I would never do something that had already been produced. I might have strayed a little bit and added some things that, I thought would be good sellers. And they have been, like our stock tanks. I love tiny, tiny details. These milk crates, you can see the tip of a mechanical pencil beside them. All of the pictures I'm showing you here are just HO scale. That is my wife that I scanned in her full Halloween witches costume, along with a flickering LED cauldron. Once again, if I can scan a person, I will, and if I can put an LED in something and make it flicker, I will do that as well. I mentioned before that MiniPrints likes things that are fun and weird and wonderful. I definitely have a bit of a gallows humor. And so these are some scary clowns because every layout needs scary clowns. I've also been playing around over the last couple of years with all sorts of resins because everything here is 3D printed. And I was absolutely thrilled when I found glow-in-the-dark resin, because who doesn't want to make things glow in the dark? I mentioned before that we have a horse named Pumpkin. I should clarify, my wife has a horse named Pumpkin. Pumpkin is not with me in downtown Toronto. Pumpkin's about 45 minutes north of here. But of course, I had to create my wife as an equestrian. If I modeled her as the Wicked Witch, I also had to model her in her full equestrian gear. Here are just some, everything, I love creating sort of everything that you would want on a layout, from a howling wolf man to, very, very small, realistic model railroad tools. Speaking of glow in the dark, why not a skeleton rider? Most of the things that I produce are either things that tickle my fancy or things that I want for my own layout, or requests. The Civil War Napoleon cannon, for example, was a request. Sides of beef, those were a request. Actually, those were a request, and I think 1/20th scale for someone who was building a very large modeled freight car and wanted to hang the beef inside. A reefer. Some Christmas carolers, a very small payphone. My son, Benjamin, when I sent him out to do some leaf blowing, small, tiny crates of apples, train vanes. The smaller, the better at MiniPrints. Nothing is too strange. Nothing is too small. This is a really fun range of products. There were 6 initially, then we added another 3, and now up to 12 different poses. These are what I call the "don't push me because I'm close to the edge" figures. And the theory here was that no one ever models the edge of their layout. The world might not be flat, but our layouts certainly are. So I went around to a whole bunch of friends and I asked them if they were standing at the edge of the world, what would they do? So Steve Duranix is the first picture. He's looking over the edge. The second picture is my employee Brett, and he's peering over the edge with his spyglass. My friend Laura, who is a potter, who was in the studio next to me, dangling her feet over the edge, and so on. My friend Sarah, bottom, said that she'd dump a body over the edge of the world. And I said that was a little dark, perhaps even for MiniPrints, but I would scan her, put a wheelbarrow in her hands, and she could, the modeler could put whatever they wanted inside the wheelbarrow. So this is extended. There's my son Max peering over the edge of the world in his tracksuit, and my friend Spencer hanging off the edge of the world. So this is a really fun series, done very well for me at MiniPrints because it adds a little bit of humor, and that is so important to the work that I do. Is if you can't have fun with your model railroad, then why not? So that's the Close to the Edge series. Once again, just going through more things that have been introduced. Every layout needs birdhouses and bird feeders, and of course cinder blocks, and then of course Canada geese. I even modeled a miniature model railroad layout in HO scale, so you can have an HOS and, well, yeah, do I do it? Yeah, I don't. Do I do it now? I forget. But you can certainly have a model railroad layout on your model railroad layout. I'm constantly finding inspiration, everywhere I go. That's me there, Dr. Mini with a shrink ray gun in the corner. I was at the Colorado Model Railroad Museum, and they had one of these wonderful Sheffield hand carts. So that became a fun design. The handle actually does go up and down on that, and the wheels do move. Lately, these are some of the newest mini prints. The talking outhouse, of course. Someone requested rocking chairs. I'm getting into a whole series of bins, disposal bins. This is a 40 cubic yard. I did a 20 cubic yard, a 10 cubic yard, and I've got some more coming out. Of course, holidays are big creative times at MiniPrints. You know, once again, things that are novel, different, might not exist out there, and are sort of whimsical. So whether it's Christmas gnomes, a giant inflatable Santa lit on the inside, inspiration from a 12-foot one that I saw at my local big box retail. You know, everything is fair game at MiniPrints. Hopefully it's kind of unique and fills a need in the market, and people get a laugh and enjoy it. Here are some of the dumpsters again. I guess, oops, a few repeated pictures got in there. Something else that's new in the last 2 years is that a lot of MiniPrints come painted now, or can come painted. So I'm working with a very talented local modeler, Mike HO scale trains, and he's doing all the painting for me. So 2 years ago, if you bought an item on MiniPrints, you could get it, you know, in any color you wanted, as long as it was unpainted. Now many of them are coming painted, including these wonderful barricades, mobile porta potty, because every layout needs that. The wheelchair was a request. Hubcaps, lit telephone booths, you name it. As I say, we have thousands and thousands of items. These are some of the newest I've added. The beer kegs, the ASBs, the American Standard Barrels, which are used for whiskey manufacture. Probably one of the smallest mini prints I've done, HO scale rats, wagon wheels. And this is sort of the last slide I'm going to share, just to show you some of the things that I've been working on lately. Created a dragon for the Chinese Year of the Dragon. And given the time of the year, any order placed at miniprints.com that has a value of $20 or more right now gets a free leprechaun and pot of gold in N, HO, S, or O scale. All of these that I've shared today are available at miniprints.com. If you go to the shop, it's broken down into all of the categories, including my favorite, oddities, but, you know, people and mini-me's and things like that as well. It's not all silly. You know, there are lots of regular detail items. I just tend to enjoy some of the more unique ones. If you are HO scale and interested in HO scale, I do have the subscription service. Much more than I could ever share is always posted on social media, probably Facebook being the most frequent. I occasionally post to Instagram, but most of the new stuff comes out at facebook.com/miniprints3D. And for this audience, I would like to offer 15% off anything that you see on the site just for the next week. And you can use the discount code OTBT. And anything that you saw here tonight, if it tickles your fancy, or if you want to go on and browse or look at some of the scans, the mini-me scans I've done recently, you can save 15% off with that discount. And I think that's my time for tonight. So some of the new and exciting things that I have done in the last 2 years.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Bernard. That was an excellent rundown of the new product line. Let me go down through the chat box. Bill Hobbs says Mini is known for humor. Chuck Proudfoot says, can you do a unique water tank strap connector?
I'm not doing sort of one-off custom things right now, just because I'm sticking to, time is so limited that I'm sticking to things that have a bit more of a mass market appeal. So I'd love to do every sort of unique request that comes in, but it has to have, I think, a commercial selling appeal in order to make it onto the to-do list, which is probably about 2 years long at this point.
Okay. Robin Peel said, now following MiniPrints on Facebook.
Thank you.
Dan Stenger, any plans to print smaller details in F or G?
Yes, 100%. So that's very interesting. 2 years ago, I had a certain printer that was very good, but very slow. Last weekend, I just put in 8 brand new printers that are rocket ships. The issue with G scale and F scale in the past had been print time. I just couldn't figure out a way of making it affordable for people because some of these prints were 7-8 hours. With the new printers that are easily a third faster, my printing time has been cut down dramatically. A 3-hour print is now less than 2 hours. I will absolutely be introducing G scale and F scale. So that is coming soon. The new technology has allowed for that. And I would say to Dan and anyone else, if you see anything that you would like in G or F, email me, bernard@miniprints.com. And I will start off by doing it on a as requested basis. So yes, don't expect the biggest mini prints will fit on in G, but certainly, if you need a bald eagle or, something small in G or F, 100%.
Great. Jim Spice said, great products. I have a lot of them, super fine detail and quality.
Thank you,
that's
Jim.
the last of the remarks. And we thank you very much. And I'll turn it back to Jerry.
Well, thank you. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate the opportunity to share what's new.